Hey guys, Jacqueline here with Zenith Home Loans. Thank you so much for joining us for another one of our interview series where I am interviewing different clients and vendors. Britney happens to be a really good friend of mine from years past. So today we're going to talk a little bit about interior design and home improvements and things like that. So Britney, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Britney started a company called BDesigns. So why don't you kind of just fill us in on a little bit of your background, why you do what you do, and then we'll just kind of jump into some questions.
Okay, perfect. So yes, I have my own interior design company. I have a bachelor's degree in interior design. I have a master's as well, but I have a bachelor's degree in interior design. And out of school, I went to work for a couple architecture firms. So I did some commercial design. I did some high-end residential design. And now that I have kids, excuse me, I decided to kind of start my own side gig. And so now I do mostly residential design.
Okay, awesome. And so what, part of the conversation, part of why I wanted to bring you in today is just a little bit talk about some of your experiences, maybe some recommendations that you might have for homeowners and future homeowners and things like that. So if it's cool with you, I'm just going to kind of jump into some of these questions and then we'll go from there.
Yep, perfect.
So first question I had is, what are a couple of easy and free or really close to free things that somebody can do if they're in the market to list their house for sale, just to get it ready and make sure they're getting the best bang for their buck?
So one free thing that you can do would be to declutter your home. So you kind of got to think in terms of like you're a stager, and basically a stager would come into your house and they would take out 60-70% of all of the things in your home. So furniture, artwork, if you have like collectibles, accessories, a stager would come in and take out 60 to 70% of those things. And the reason for that is that you want the house to feel bigger and also have a more open, a little bit more minimalistic vibe. So one thing that you can do for free would be to go through your house and take out most of your furniture. Like let's say a master bedroom, you would leave a bed and maybe one nightstand.
Okay.
I would say even take out a dresser, that's just added space. And then really you want your walls and your artwork to be minimalistic. So maybe one big piece of artwork over the bed or, on a side wall that's really big, but you don't want a lot of things hanging on the walls. You don't want a lot of furniture and you don't want a lot of like accessories and collectibles sitting around.
Okay, that's helpful because that was going to be my next question is, how do I know what to leave and what to get rid of? So what about like personal items? Like, should I remove any like family photos and things like that really identify me?
Yeah, I would say minimize them for sure. I mean, I think if you had a family photo on the wall, and that was like one of the only photos on a big wall, that would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because the family is going to come into this house and they want to see this house is going to be good for families. So I don't think that's the worst thing, but I don't think you want, like say you have a mantle with a bunch of frames, you don't want like 50 frames on top of a mantle. So you still really want to minimize things. But if you do have one or two family photos here and there, I think that's okay. It just says that it's a family who lived in this house and loved this house. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be okay.
Okay, awesome. And then what about if I had like a accent wall or something like that? Should I cover those up and do more neutral colors, or does it really matter?
I think if you have dark colors, so I've flipped a couple houses and I've helped clients flip houses. And we had like a dark hunter green wall. That was not good. I've seen some walls that are like bright yellow and red. And particularly they were in a kitchen, which is just kind of a weird color scheme for a kitchen. It's like, I don't know, ketchup and mustard. So things like that, people are going to come into the house and they're going to see bright red wall and bright yellow. And it's going to be like, I don't really like it. Mm-hmm. This isn't for me. And that's not what you want. So I think the more neutrals you can go, that's good. But I think if you do have a pop of color, and it's a good color, this is kind of where an interior designer can come into play. You could have a pop of color and it could be kind of a fun accent wall.
Mhm.
then that might be okay. But if
Okay.
it's something, that's super dark or super bright red or bright yellow, something that's going to turn somebody away from the house, you don't want that.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. And so if we were going to be purchasing things for our home on a budget, and in this scenario, let's say that we're selling, what would be the best thing that I can do as far as a home improvement that maybe isn't going to cost me a lot of money, but may make the house show better or might make my house stand out amongst the rest?
So definitely paint. Paint can go a
Okay.
long way. So if you have a bunch of, like each room is a different color, you have a dark red room and a dark green room, and then you have like browns, in your living room. You kind of want the flow of the house to be all one color and all
Okay.
neutral colors.
Mhm.
So I would say paint. And even if these people don't have the money to spend on painters, they could paint themselves, do some
Mhm.
sweat equity, and really make the house neutral. And people are going to come in and they're going to see a neutral house that they can then make themselves, turn it into something for themselves.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you start with neutral colors, I think that is better.
Okay. And then let's flip the script a little bit on that then. And so let's say now I own the home or I'm just moving in. Obviously, we know paint would be a really good thing, but now I own the home. So I might be willing to spend a little bit more money. Other than paint, what would be another good thing to do that maybe won't be super expensive?
You could do countertops, like some quartz countertops, and actually Home Depot actually sells silestone, which is my favorite quartz. So there are some products in stores like Lowe's and Home Depot
Mhm.
that are still really good products.
Okay.
So you could put in quartz countertops that are, the silestone product from Home Depot.
Mhm.
I think that would go a long way. Also, Costco has a lot of great products. So like, say you want to update a bathroom and you need a new vanity, Costco has really good high quality vanities.
Oh, that's good to
And
know.
you can order them online, and then sometimes they have them in stores.
Okay. So if I'm looking at maybe I need to update my bathroom and I need to update my kitchen, what generally makes the most sense to update first? Like, is there one, obviously, depending on if I need all new appliances in a kitchen or something like that, that would obviously be a lot more expensive, but is there one thing that makes a little bit more sense than the other in terms of like, okay, I can only afford to do one thing at a time. So which one would I update first?
Yeah, so definitely the kitchen. As they say, the kitchen is the heart of the home.
Mhm.
And so if people were to come into the house and they see a nicely updated kitchen that maybe you painted the cabinets and you did new countertops and really made it nice,
Mhm.
I think that would be the best bang for your buck.
Okay.
And they also say that the return on investment on updating a kitchen, especially in a hot buyer's market like Denver is right now, you could get the full return on investment out of
Right.
updating a kitchen.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And then so again, I own the home now. And so we're kind of away from, I'm going to sell my house and I'm looking at doing renovations. What room in the house should I start with as far as a renovation or decorating? So we know kitchen's the heart of the home, but like if I'm walking in, is there like something about the entryway that maybe I should update first? Or do you think first things first is let's do the kitchen, let's make that the warmth of the home and things like that? Is that generally where you would recommend starting, or kind of what's been your experience so far?
Also, let's talk about like the exterior. What about like curb appeal?
Yeah.
I think that would be a great thing to start with. How does the house look from the outside? Because if the house looks good from the outside, people are going to walk in, want to walk inside.
Right.
So maybe curb appeal. And then yes, you could do entryway, family room, living room, maybe even just paint or update the floors. Something I always tell people is if they have outdated, like if they have wood floors but they're outdated, the best thing you can do is refinish your existing hardwood. There is like more modern stains now. You can go kind of gray, but don't rip out that old wood floor you have, just refinish it.
Yeah. Are you still seeing people put carpet over hardwoods? Is that a thing? Or people stop, hopefully?
Not typically, but
Okay.
I have seen people put laminate over a hardwood floor. And unfortunately, I'm like, you just didn't do the house any service here because you have good hardwoods. You could have just refinished them. And also, if you're going to list the house, you could say, you know, it has nice hardwood floors.
Mhm.
Instead, now you have to say it has laminate floors because you covered up the wood with your laminate.
Yeah. And I'd imagine removing laminate's probably not the least expensive thing you'd be doing.
Right. And is it going to rip up the old wood floor, you know, when you go to remove that?
Uh-huh. How long, so if I'm moving into a new house, how long should I prepare for if I'm really just, maybe I'm not making any major renovations, but I'm just like trying to make it my own as far as like paint and decorating and little adjustments here and there. Like generally, how long should I anticipate something like that taking? Because I feel like a lot of people want to have that, we have that instant gratification, right? Like we want to move into our house, we want everything to be perfect, but that's just not realistic. And it's probably not financially advantageous for us either, because we just spent a bunch of money on our down payment. So how long do you tell people it's like, hey, just plan on this taking X amount of time? Like what's a good rule of thumb?
Well, I mean, it depends on if they're doing it themselves
Mm-hmm.
or if they're going to hire contractors. If you can get a hold of contractors that have time, I mean, I have some contractors that can come through and paint a whole house and do all new trim and refinish floors in, you know, 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on if they're doing it themselves. And then also if you can get a hold of contractors. So unfortunately, this market is so hot right now. Contractors are really, really busy and really hard to, you know, pin down
Mm-hmm.
for scheduling a date and stuff like that. But if you
Right.
can get a hold of some, you know, that's the benefit to, you know, paying painters to come in and paint your house is they can
Mhm.
come in 2 days and paint the whole house,
Right.
you know, versus you painting it yourself is going to take a while.
Right. Right. So is there, let's say I'm not doing any renovations like that. Maybe I'm just trying to decorate my house and make each room more cohesive. Is there a good, like couple months, couple weeks, things like that? Like how long should somebody budget as far as timing is considered so that they don't feel like overwhelmed and feel like obligated to do all of the stuff all at once?
I mean,
I
I
feel
would
like-
say a few months.
Yeah.
If you're really, you know, going to do curtains and paint, you know, all these things, accessories, decorating, furniture,
Yeah.
I would definitely say 2-3 months.
Okay. And then is there anything that you see people doing that you wish they would stop when it comes to renovations and things?
Yes. So there's some, you know, HGTV shows
Mhm.
that portray houses in a certain way, like a farm, you know, like a farmhouse
Mhm.
style. And I hate it when I see people take their house in suburbia and
Mhm.
try to make it a farmhouse.
Mhm.
So the style of your house really needs to reflect, you know, when was your house built, the type of architecture and the
Mhm.
style of your house. You can't come into it, you know, like a suburbia home and make it look like a farmhouse.
Mhm.
But people see things like this on HGTV and then, you know, they want to do that to their house. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, you're just not doing your house any service if you're not following the style of the house, the architecture of the house,
Mhm.
you know, all those things. So that's
Yeah.
somewhere else where an interior designer can really help. Is they can come in and they can see the architecture and the style of your home and help you decorate around that.
Yeah. And maybe if you like that style, maybe there's some smaller things you can do to, from a decorating standpoint versus I'm going to gut my house and make it look like something that doesn't match, like the inside doesn't match the outside kind of thing.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about budget. So if I only have like $5,000 to spend or $2,500 or $1,000, like what should I spend my money on? Like what makes the most sense if I'm going to do everything myself?
Well, if you're going to do it yourself, I think, you know, you can do paint, you could do new molding. So
Mhm.
they used to have like the older molding that was only like 2.5 inches. And now if you go to like a 4, 5, 6 inch molding,
Mhm.
it can really, you know, update your house and make it, you know, look like a richer house.
Mhm.
So those are some things, if you're kind of handy, you could do yourself.
Mhm.
And then if you want to, you can, you know, refinish flooring. Like I was saying, I think that's something that you could pay someone for, but get the most bang for your buck out of refinishing flooring.
And then what about like cabinets? Is there an easy thing if I was going to do it myself? Is painting one of the easiest way to like kind of update a room as far as that's concerned? Or does it make more sense to bring in a professional to do refinishing on cabinets and things like that? Or does it matter?
Definitely. I think if your cabinets are newer and maybe they're just kind of like the outdated wood and you want to paint them, I definitely think that is a great thing to do. You could put in the sweat equity and do it yourself. You could also, if you have an interior designer, like I have someone I really recommend who paints cabinets and she does an amazing job. She's really reasonable. So yeah, I mean, I think you can update your kitchen, right? And if they are newer, you know, decent cabinets, then yeah, you can paint them and update the kitchen, and that's great bang for your buck.
What about wallpaper? What are your feelings on wallpaper right now? I feel like that's making a comeback.
Yes, so that was definitely a thing like when we were little. Remember our moms used to like wallpaper? But it's definitely making a comeback now. Also stenciling, you can see the wall behind me is stenciled. That's kind of a fun thing to do for an accent wall. But yeah, I think wallpapering is making a comeback, and there's a lot of cool choices out there.
Yeah.
If you have a designer that can help you, you know, pick out an accent wall, I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah. Do you think wallpapering is easier than painting?
I do think it's easier. I actually wanted to wallpaper the wall behind me, but I couldn't find wallpaper in the colors I wanted. So I ended up stenciling, and that was a tedious project for sure.
Well, it looks beautiful, so that's good. Is there a DIY? I guess I need to rephrase this mostly because I read the question wrong. But is DIY actually better or cheaper than just buying the product or buying the thing or hiring it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a DIYer and you're pretty handy or you're pretty crafty, I think you can put in a lot of sweat equity and get a lot out of your money that way versus hiring it out.
Yeah. Is there anything that you should absolutely not DIY in your experience?
Yeah, I would stay away from like electrical, some plumbing.
Yeah.
You know, some of that stuff needs to be up to code. And if you're not a licensed electrician, you know, you're not going to know how to update that to code. So I'd stay away from some of those things.
Okay. And so then go ahead.
You could switch out like light fixtures yourself, but maybe, you know, like moving your electrical outlets. Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, that's fair. Because that leads me into my next question, which was, what should you always hire out? So it sounds like electric, water, anything that's going to kill you or cause major damage. Maybe we hire somebody. But if you want to like reface your cabinetry and things like that, that's an easy thing, especially if you've got time and things like that. And I feel like if I was going to paint a room, or if I was just going to paint something on a cabinet, those things, if you mess up or it doesn't quite look like that, it's not that expensive to do the DIY piece of it. And then if you really just kind of butcher it, then it's not the worst thing in the world. It's an easier fix, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And there's just some safety things. Like if your garage door breaks, you don't ever want to mess with a garage door.
Oh yeah, no.
Those springs in there.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, and
so electrical, the garage doors.
Yeah.
Some of these things don't.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there anything that you're seeing, like any trends right now, or just different ideas and things that you're seeing in the market that are like really cool, or think, hey, this is the kind of thing that will last a lot longer? So it's not the super trendy. Like I feel like the farmhouse look is something sort of trendy right now. So a lot of people are doing it, but maybe it's not going to kind of withstand the ages. Is there anything that out there that you're like, yeah, this is like timeless, so you can always do something like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's just some like classical design elements that, you know, there's some classical furniture that has been around since the 50s and it still looks, you know, really modern and sleek. So there's definitely some like classical elements like that are true to the test of time. And you want to stay away from some of these like farmhouse ideas that are going to last 5-7 years, and then it's going to be out, and now you're left with a farmhouse sink that you're going to have to rip out.
Yeah, that's fair. Other than, you mentioned Costco, obviously, and Home Depot and Lowe's, are there any other stores that you love shopping at for like decorative accessories and things like that are like fun, whimsical, inexpensive, and things like that you can recommend?
I love Floor and Decor. They sell like all different types of tile. So that's my favorite tile shop. Let's see what else. Oh, there's a new home store at Park Meadows. I don't know if you guys have been to this new home store. It is amazing. It's like a huge warehouse full of art and accessories. you know,
Home
indoor,
store like
outdoor,
TJ Maxx?
kind of, but it's like a
Okay.
big warehouse. It's called the Home Store. It's at
Okay.
Park Meadow.
Okay.
It's amazing. If you haven't been, you have to go.
Okay, awesome. So that's all of my questions. So I really appreciate your time and your insight. Is there anything else that maybe we did address that you want to make sure that people know? Maybe anything about hiring a designer or somebody like you that you want to kind of just instill some extra pieces of information for people that might be watching this?
Just really, if you hire an interior designer, they can help you look at the architecture of the home and the style of the home and make sure that the inside reflects the outside. And really, it's a cohesive design.
Mm-hmm. In hiring an interior designer, like budget wise, what could I anticipate? Obviously, it depends on the scope of the work, but like as a baseline, what could somebody anticipate needing to spend if they were going to hire somebody out like you?
So typically, interior designers are rough. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Are you still there? Sorry.
Yep.
Typically, interior designers are roughly $100 an hour.
Okay.
Or higher.
Okay. Okay. And then if somebody wanted to reach out to you, we'll have all of your contact information so that they can reach out directly and get some tips and recommendations and things like that. But anything else you want to share with us today, Britt?
Yeah, give me a call and follow me on Instagram at BDesign303.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We will see you guys next week.
Thank you.